Grass, Fire, and Water have been the de facto starter Pokemon types since the very beginning. But what if that hadn't been the case? Well, we've answered that with the first 4 generations of Pokemon, so let's move on to the Unova starters. Hey everyone, Brandon here. So first up is the first Pokemon in the Unova Dex, Snivy. Wait, for real? Excuse me, the second Pokemon of the Unova Dex, which I decided to give the ground type. So here is Snert, the Sand Snake Pokemon, a pure ground type. I worked with Foongoosmon for all the starters in this video, so make sure to check out their link in the description. As per usual with the new types in this alternate universe what-if situation, we need to change the names to match the types. So yes, we have Snert, which is so fun to say it has become a vocal stem. Snert, 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 Snert. Snakes can be found in deserts all across the world, so it made for an easy type translation. Snert is specifically based on the horned viper found in the Sahara Desert, which does a great job blending in with its sandy environment. As with Snert, who resides in the desert resort, hiding in the deep sands, which it does more of now that humans have become more prevalent in the area, stressing this Pokemon. But you don't have to stress about getting delicious gourmet meals in your area thanks to today's sponsor, Factor. Head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code MAGIC50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. That's code MAGIC50 at factor75.com to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month of orders. Factor takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including options like keto, calorie smart, and even vegan and veggie, which I certainly appreciate because it makes my life easier as a plant-based eater. Factor meals eliminate the hassle of prepping, cooking, and cleaning up. Simply heat it up and enjoy. Also, Factor is now owned by HelloFresh, and with a wide array of meals to choose from, there's something for everyone, so you can enjoy both brands at a discount with me. So once again, head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code MAGIC50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. Thank you so much to Factor for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to it. At level 17, Snert evolves into Servern, the cave snake Pokemon. This Pokemon is well known for hiding out within caves, as its category implies. It serves as a protector of hordes of Snert that it travels with. The Sahara spans across most of North Africa and covers a good part of Egypt. As such, Servern has the added inspiration of Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt before the Roman Empire incorporated it as a province. Servern's scales look like a collar of Nefer amulets, which were said to bring good luck to the wearer. And on the head, the scales match the look of what pop culture knows as the Cleopatra bob, but it also is reflective of the hood of a snake, specifically the Egyptian cobra, whose black coloration has been featured more upon evolving. And that coloration is even furthered at level 36 when Servern evolves into Serperish, the divine Pokemon, a ground dragon type. Serperish evolves from referencing a pharaoh to multiple Egyptian gods. Firstly, it is based on Apep, a god of darkness and the underworld seen in the form of an enormous snake, capable of creating devastating earthquakes from its movements. Next is the goddess Wadjet, who took the form of a winged cobra. She is said to be the daughter and eye of the sun god Ra, which you can see given the sun disk above her head. Apep was actually considered an enemy of Ra given the nature of their existences, so combining these two god snakes is a form of balancing the chaos. Wadjet is also associated with the Wedjot, with the right eye representing power, fury, and Ra, and the left representing protection, healing, and another god of the sun and kingship, Horus. Looking back, you can see Snert's eye pattern refers to these symbols, and this line's green eyes resemble Wadjet's name of the Green One, which are also reflected in amulets and ceramics. Serperish's name comes from serpent and perish, as in to slowly decay or waste away, much like you would if you were trapped in a desert. Serperish are equal in the power to protect and destroy. A true force to be reckoned with if you ever encounter it in the wild, and a powerful ally in battle. And you would be my powerful ally if you hit subscribe, the like button, and left a comment down below. We are creeping up on 500,000 subscribers, so I would greatly appreciate the support to reach that milestone. On to our fire starter Tepig, which I decided to give the ice type, which I thought would be interesting given those types are opposites. Anyway, I give you Frippig, the frost pig Pokemon, a pure ice type. As I said, Frippig is the inverse of Tepig, and so is its coloration, looking almost like you hit the invert color tool on paint. Frippig's fluffiness is based on the Mangalica pig, a form of domestic pig with long curly hair. It looks like you mixed a pig and a sheep together. It's a shig, or would it be a peep? Well, Frippig certainly makes a peep when it sneezes, which releases a bunch of slush. This is a reference to a technique for cleaning pipes called ice pigging, which uses an ice slurry to remove any sediment or any unwanted materials, just like sneezing is trying to remove viruses from your body. At level 17, Frippig evolves into Piglu, the Ice Pig Pokemon. While the name doesn't exactly match the cadence of Pignite, I felt it matched the vibe of the pun. Its name actually goes further than a good pun. There are actually wild boars that were imported to Canada that have started building Pigloos out of mounds of cattails, that they then burrow underneath and snow gathers atop of, hence a Pigloo. Once again, Piglu is kind of the inverse of Pignite. Where Pignite looks like it's ready for battle and full of fighting spirit, Piglu kind of plays into the sad loner teen vibe, with its hands in the pockets of its furry hoodie. This Pokemon's icy power is fueled by sleeping and conserving its energy. It tends to keep to itself, but with a trainer's help, it has been seen to be more social. This behavior and its ice typing are actually a small reference to seasonal depression or seasonal affective disorder, which is definitely creeping up on me with winter right around the corner. It is also said to especially affect people ages 18 to 30, which match up to the levels Piglu would be before evolving. Speaking of, at level 36, Piglu evolves into Boreal, the Mega Ice Pig Pokemon, an Ice Fairy type. Okay, so this is the first time I've pretty much abandoned the name matching the original as far as placement, but honestly, Emboar is such a good name and so simple that swapping out some kind of icy or cold themed pun in there was pretty much impossible. So I decided to swap the placement to make a new pun with the word Boreal, which means a north or northern region, but can also be classified as relating to the climate zone south of the Arctic. It also refers to the Aurora Borealis, as instead of flames, Boreal has this aurora collar. Just south of the collar, we have this symbol on Boreal's stomach, which is meant to replicate the Triquetra or the Triskel, both of which have Nordic origins. The Triquetra was first discovered on the Funbo runestones in Sweden, and the Triskel, also known as Odin's horns, obviously commemorates Odin, but specifically his quest to drink the mead of poetry, Odorir. Boreal's white and gold coloration along with its aurora referred to the mythical Norse boar Gulenbursti, which was the mount of Freyr, the Norse god of kingship and peace. Gulenbursti was also said to have a gold mane that could glow in the dark. All of those elements felt very fitting of the fairy type, and with this final stage, the inversion of Emboar comes to a head, with its name reversing the placement of Boar and its type combo being the exact opposite of the fire fighting type. Boreal's icy might is summoned from its chest in a colorful display. The happier it is, the more dazzling the power becomes. And for our water starter Oshawott, I opted to give it the steel type. Some astute longtime viewers of the channel may have noticed that this is the original type trio I gave to the Kanto starters, but swapped which kind of starter got which type. Given Pokemon Black and White were a soft reboot of the franchise, I thought this would be a fun parallel. Anyway, allow me to introduce Oshawott, the Steel Otter Pokemon, a pure Steel type. Oshawott, instead of having its iconic Scalchop, it's replaced by an Urchop. Otters eat both scallops and urchins, and the spiny nature of an urchin felt fitting of the Steel type. Oshawott uses its Urchop to defend its body and the food it collects. At level 17, Oshawott evolves into Pewott, the training Pokemon, a pure Steel type. Pewott use their dual Urchops to defend the weak, though it is still learning the techniques to use them most efficiently. The Steel typing is furthered in this line with Pewott's hood of fur emulating chainmail worn by European knights in the medieval period, which shines a light on where this Pokemon is headed with its inspirations. Oshawott acts as a page, which were servants of knights and noblemen. Pewott acts as a squire, who was still a servant of a knight but was also trained to be one. And then at level 36, Pewott evolves into Solderot, the chivalrous Pokemon, a Steel electric type. Yep, this otter has gone from samurai to knight. You may have also noticed its type combo, which I had been hinting at with the Watt part of the first two stages' names, and the coloration of the Urchop, which is meant to emulate Pincurchin. There's another thing you may have picked up on with its typing in comparison to the rest of the final stages. Each final stage is quad weak to the main type of one of the other starters. So there, their types are balanced. Just balanced in the opposite direction of the usual. Anyway, Solderot's spiked armor is a great conductor of electricity, allowing it to flow into its enormous Storm Ace, which is created by combining its two pauldrons. The idea of an urchin turning into a mace for this line is something I felt worked so well and pretty much informed the entire concept. As far as a group theme, I actually kept it basically the same, since Unova was all about representing diversity. So the Serperish line obviously represents Egypt, the Boreal line represents Nordic countries, and the Solderot line represents the United Kingdom, or Galar in the Pokemon world. And yes, there are two representatives of European culture there, but the original starters had two representatives of East Asian culture, so I think we can let that slide. There is also a link between the European cultures, as Gulenbursti was used in the heraldry of King Richard III of England. And those are the Unova starters with different types. Thank you so much to our incredible members whose names you can see on screen for supporting this channel with their hard-earned money, which you can also do by hitting that join button. And thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you all next time.